So, I think we can all agree that Rhaenyra and Daenerys are definitely similar in some ways. They are not the same characters, of course, but they do share similarities, and for the most part, they face similar struggles, at least in the shows. In the books, both Rhaenyra and Daenerys are very different from one another, but this video will focus on how the shows portray them, how HBO portrays these Targaryen revolutionaries. Both of them are women with a certain fire inside of them. They have ambition, well, at least Rhaenyra did have it in her early years. They have a burning fire inside of them and struggle to control the Targaryen fury. Well, at least Rhaenyra did in her early years, I guess. Their stories are obviously very different. Rhaenyra was born into power and privilege and all that, while Daenerys is the opposite of that. And Rhaenyra obviously changes as a person after the 10-year time skip. By the end of the season, she's a mother of 5, and seems to inherit a lot of her father's reasoning when faced with war and political decisions. Well, at least until Luke dies. Still, when you think about it, Rhaenyra and Daenerys do share some similar struggles, mainly concerning the aspects of ruling, tradition, and the whole Targaryens are fire and blood thing. Both Rhaenyra and Alicent struggle as rulers, especially because their plans and agendas come into direct conflict with the tradition and culture of the places and people that they have conquered.
Politics is the art of compromise, Your Grace.
I'm not a politician. I'm a queen.
You're right, of course. Still, it's easier to rule happy subjects than angry ones.
I don't expect the wise masters to be happy.
They do not ask for the return of slavery. They ask for the reopening of the fighting pits. In the new world that you've brought to us, free men would fight free men. The pit fighters you liberated plead for this opportunity.
No fighting pits.
Opening them would show the people of Yunkai and Meereen that you respect their traditions.
I do not respect the tradition of human cockfighting.
If you could
How many times must I say no before you understand?
Were I born a man, I could bear Tim if I wanted. I could father a dozen bastards, and no one in your court would blink an eye.
You're right. But you were born a woman.
So you'll strip me of my titles and name Aegon in my stead.
I would. But it is mine to hold the realm together.
Rhaenyra struggles with traditional gender roles that women in Westerosi society face, and Daenerys struggles to fight off against the concept of slavery, which even for medieval societies like Westeros is wrong and immoral. However, Daenerys finds herself as Queen of Meereen, and slavery has been a part of their economy and strategy for hundreds of years, if not thousands. Daenerys cannot just expect this to change overnight, and not only does she expect them to end the practice of slavery, she also does not provide them any other solutions or roles for all the freed slaves. Like, what are they going to do? This is best shown in this scene.
I ask you to let me sell myself back to Master Migdal.
You want to return to a man who owned you, like a goat or a chair.
Please, Your Grace. The young may rejoice in the new world you have built for them, but for those of us too old to change, there is only fear and squalor. I am not alone. There are many outside, waiting to beg the same.
Yeah, there's a reason why this is called Slaver's Bay after all. Because slavery has been a part of these people's life for so long, they do not know what life without it looks like. Ending certain social structures requires time, and social reform also requires time. You cannot change societies that are unwilling to change. Now, in Daenerys' case, these societies are willing to change, because most slaves hate slavery. No shit. But still, it isn't that simple, and to her credit, she does understand this to some level. At least, she comes to understand it.
I came here to tell you that I was wrong. I was wrong, and you were right. About tradition. About bringing the people of this city together.
Rhaenyra, however, does not. You see, she suffers from a similar issue. She does not really understand Westerosi culture, and she expects to get away with some shit that she should not be able to. Let's take the court scene in episode 8 as an example of this. In this episode, Rhaenyra is trying to make a case for her son Lucerys to inherit Driftmark, even though everybody knows he is a bastard. I mean seriously, everybody with 2 brain cells knows this. Rhaenyra and Rhaenyra and their parents all had silver blonde hair, but they have black hair? Anyway, the problem is that Rhaenyra thinks that by betrothing Jace and Luke to Baela and Rhaena, she'll fix the succession issue. That's not how it works, because in medieval societies, women are often seen as the property of their husbands. They are not the ones who inherit the seat of power of their house, the men are. So Bella and Rhaena would not help their case. The whole, well, they have the Velaryon blood thing is not enough. People have eyes, you know? They know they are bastards. And that is the truth. Look, like it or not, love them or hate them, that is the truth. And to quote my favorite Dark Souls character,
And no matter how tender, how exquisite, a lie will remain a lie.
Rhaenyra tries to make a similar deal with Alicent in episode 6, that anyone who has a simple understanding of politics in Westeros roll their eyes or palm their faces. Again, a marriage with Helaena would not have fixed anything, because women cannot inherit the titles of their husbands. After Rhaenyra's death, the matter of succession would have been questioned, and Jace's marriage to Helaena would not have fixed his claim to the Iron Throne. People would have probably encouraged Rhaenyra's younger brothers, Aegon, Aemond, and Daeron, to rebel against Jace and have their legitimate bloodlines on the throne. Even if Jace was married to Helaena, at best this would have been a hostage situation, and at worst, a complete disaster. Because again, Helaena cannot claim the throne for Jace. Unlike Rhaenyra, she does not have a claim through her father. You know what Rhaenyra could have done? Urge Corlys or Rhaenys to choose Baela or Rhaena as future heirs to Driftmark, despite the fact that they are women. You know, just like her father did for her. This is what her claim is based on. But she doesn't, because Rhaenyra does not really care about the role of women in Westerosi society. Alternatively, she could have made the argument that bastards or no, Jace and Luke are still Targaryens, because they have dragons, so technically it doesn't matter whether they were born out of wedlock or no. Plus, she could make the argument that Targaryen bastards should be treated differently if they have a dragon, but simply denying that they are bastards is not even an argument against the social rules of Westeros, because you're not arguing against them, you're just denying the truth. She fails to understand that she cannot simply break the rules of a society and then simply ignore the consequences. Anyway, the point is that at least Daenerys somewhat learns from her mistakes and tries to understand and fight the social rules of slavery in Meereen. Rhaenyra kind of doesn't. Of course, this doesn't mean that Rhaenyra is not worth rooting for she does have many redeeming qualities. But fuck, she really inherited the worst aspects of her father's political skills, didn't she? Truth be told, however, Targaryens have a bit of a problem when it comes to understanding the cultures that they have conquered. This is partially because they often see themselves as gods above man, so they think they can just dictate whatever laws they wish and break the rules scot-free. Rhaenyra's problem, however, is that she doesn't understand what being a woman in Westeros society actually means. Like, she does a lot of the things that Aegon does, that is the parallel between them, but Aegon can get away with it because he's a man, while Rhaenyra does not because she's a woman. Yeah, Westeros society is pretty sexist, and the fact that Rhaenyra did not consider this is a problem. Take this scene for example.
The folk would like to believe that as a male, Aegon should be the heir.
Their wants are of no consequence.
They're of great consequence if you expect to rule them one day.
Well, sorry to break it to you, Rhaenyra, but you are wrong. What they want does actually matter. And we'll probably see this in the future seasons of House of the Dragon, when a certain protest happens. Overall, the problem with these Targaryen revolutionaries is that they don't understand that they cannot simply force change. Daenerys wants to abolish slavery because it is cruel, inhumane, and wrong. And she is right. Slavery is disgusting and inhuman and immoral, even for Westerosi standards. But the problem is, this is not Westeros, and you cannot simply force change because you have big nuclear lizards. This is not how societies change, especially medieval ones. So at the end of the day, we shouldn't be surprised it takes more than a boss girl with nukes to change the world. You simply cannot change societies that are unwilling to change. Leaders cannot impose themselves over the masses. This is also seen in the way of another Targaryen ruler called Baelor the Blessed. He was a Targaryen king that was very close to the Faith of the Seven, and wanted to force this religion on all regions in Westeros that still worship the old gods, mainly the north. But he was so stubborn in doing so that he almost caused a war over it. Thankfully he died and this crisis was averted. But yeah, the point is that even though rulers are powerful, they cannot change societies that are unwilling to change. They cannot change people who don't want to change. And honestly, I really like the fact that George R. R. Martin understands this, even though the small folk are not usually protagonists in his stories. In conclusion, Daenerys is definitely a better revolutionary than Rhaenyra, because she actually tries to learn from her mistakes and tries to find change. However, this being said, we will have to wait and see what the writers decide to do with Rhaenyra in the following seasons. You know, now that she is a queen. But hey, what do you guys think? Do you think that Daenerys is a better revolutionary ruler than Rhaenyra? Or that Rhaenyra simply needs more time to prove herself? Or maybe you agree with me and you think that Rhaenyra is not a revolutionary at all. Anyway, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you all in my next video. Cheers!